too. Knows about the grind. Yeah, bubble grind.
Now we have a guy that could probably get in there if you...
It's game day. The Edmonton Oilers hit the road once again. How you doing, Nasties? Happy trade deadline day. It has passed 12 minutes ago. We still got some trades trickling in. It's Joaquin Gage, Hernan Salas, Brendan, Eric with you here on EST Afternoons on Edmonton Sports Talk. The coverage here has been amazing. Shout out to Dusty and Tommy for putting in a shift. Reed Wilkins, JML will take over at 3. They'll have more coverage here from all the deals made and talk a lot of Edmonton Oilers, what they did do, what they didn't do from 3 to 6 p.m. Hit us up on the Nasty Chat like always. Slam that thumbs up. Hit the subscribe button. I know the subscriptions have gone up today, starting with the morning show. So reminder to do that for us as well. And River Korean Box 780-218-9999. If you missed it, Brad Marchand to the Florida Panthers. We still don't have news on the return. Oh, and then and the Maple Leafs have acquired Brandon Carlo, defenseman from the Boston Bruins. So Boston cleaning house. Obviously, they've given up on the season. But Joaquin, I mean, we're going to get to a lot of Oiler fans upset. But I think if you deal in realistic approach here, the Oilers, I think they had a good deadline. I don't think it was great, but their hands were tied. I mean, the Evander Kane situation, the cap situation, and the no movements, they weren't going to land the big fish. That's just not, it wasn't realistic. And I know it's frustrating. Trust me. You're seeing all these other teams load up. But Gager, first of all, let's start with the breaking news. Marchand to the Panthers, Carlo to the Leafs. Where do you want to start?
Well, let's go with probably the bigger news is Brad Marchand going to the Florida Panthers. We said a line of Kachuk, Marchand, and Bennett is go. I mean, just saying that drives me crazy and wants me to take a penalty on someone. Like it's they've got a lot better. Pickup of Jones, this whole trade dead. Like I was thinking, just with the Rantanen deal, maybe it's Dallas, but now I think you have to give the gold medal of the trade deadline day is going to the Florida Panthers. To me, they've just gotten way deeper, and
they might repeat.
They've given themselves a good shot at it anyways. And you got to, just for Oilers fans, because I've gone through the text line a little bit, and there's a lot of dismay, let's say, with what happened and seeing the caliber of players move to different organizations. Only one team gets it right.
Yeah.
And it doesn't always mean it all works out. Look no further than Mikko Rantanen going to the Carolina Hurricanes. Like when that trade was initially announced and he went there, I thought, oh my gosh, that makes them a completely different team. And it didn't. It didn't work out at all. And look, Roope Hintz is not Nathan McKinnon. Mm-hmm. So who knows how that is going to work out in Dallas.
Yeah, Marchand to Florida is a good job. I mean, they they made it happen. They're getting a quality player with tons of experience, Stanley Cup experience. That team is going to be a wagon. But like you said, only one team gets it right. Good on Dallas. We'll see Mikko Rantanen probably tomorrow. Lucky Oilers. We
were saying, is he going to know who to pass the puck to? He's had so many different jerseys on. It's going to be weird.
I like Brandon Carlo to the Leafs. I think Brandon Carlo's an outstanding defenseman. He's really going to help that back end there. So good on Toronto for getting him. They also got Scott. Is it Scott? Scott Loudon? Yeah. And good on them. And listen, Oiler fans are chiming in. Everybody's upset. I understand. Like, listen, I get it. I get it. But if you thought, I don't even know how to approach this because I'm going to get.
So you and I are different on this.
Yes.
Way different. You gave them, well, You gave them a pass. Oh, I did too, I guess, but more than a passing grade. And I know you say that they couldn't do anything, but they should have.
Oh, of course.
They should have done something. Don't say they couldn't.
There we go. Sorry about that, guys. I hope it wasn't off the whole time.
It's okay. We just talked about F1.
We started off with F1 talk, but that's what I'm saying is of course the Oilers, when you compare them to the other teams in the West, yeah, they missed out. But I do like Trent Frederick. I think he's going to bring a lot to the top 9. So far, one game in, Max Jones impressed. Hopefully he can continue to do so. And from all accounts, from people that have watched Jake Walman, if you heard Drew Romando on with the Morning Boys, he spoke glowingly of Jake Walman.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I went on a rant and no one heard it.
Okay. Hernan basically said that the Oilers did the best job ever. They won the trade. No, I'm kidding. No, I don't look. I don't think it was enough. Walman, by all accounts, like you just mentioned, is spoke of glowingly with everyone that I've talked to. I said on a lock shop there with Dusty and Tom how even Bob Stauffer was mentioning what he heard about this player. A good puck moving defenseman, quick decision making, which they need.
Yeah.
You know, hopefully that solidifies this. I mean, I know the effect of Matthias Ekholm, what he had when he brought here. Can Walman kind of do? I don't want to compare him to Ekholm, but can he kind of do the same to solidify just the defensive play, shut down cycles, make sure that the coverage, the added coverage in the defensive zone is better? Because look, it wouldn't have mattered if they got Mikko Rantanen and loaded up offensively, unless the Edmonton Oilers figure out their defensive woes and their defensive struggles. It's not going to be a long playoffs anyways.
KD says Oilers needed to find a way to flip Skinner or Arvidsson and failed. KD, do you understand that they could have went to the players and said, "Hey guys, do you mind lifting your no move?" The player has full control.
Well, they probably did.
Yeah,
right?
and if the player says no,
if they didn't ask him, then that's
a different story.
But I'm sure.
And now we don't know what Stan Bowman had going, right? We don't know who he asked to maybe move their no.
Maybe we'll find out.
Maybe we'll find out. He's going to speak at 1:30. We'll carry it live for you here on EST Afternoons, Edmonton Sports Talk, your clear choice for Edmonton sports. But and I think we all agree the Oilers needed a top 6 guy to maybe have some chemistry with Leon, right? Because Arvidsson's not working, Podkolzin's not working, Skinner's not working. No matter who they play outside of going nuclear, it doesn't work with Leon. I get the frustration. Donato, there was probably a high ask for it where the Oilers maybe didn't want to or couldn't match what they wanted in return. And I mean, yeah, you would. We all want another top 6 forward. It's not going to happen, obviously. Trent Frederick, like I said, and Jake Walman, I think, is it enough though? And the cast yesterday on the pregame show made a good point. He goes, I like Jake Walman, but is it enough? He makes the decor better, but again, is it enough to push this team over the hump? And I'm still sitting here, Joaquin, and saying, is this team better than last year?
No.
Okay.
No, they're not. But they do have 2 of the best players on the planet. But they're going to need this. The reason why the players that were re-signed to come back, they have to turn up the volume of their game come playoff time. Still a lot of work to do just to make the playoffs, really. But that that gives this team, I think now, though, something happens after the trade deadline. There's a finality to it.
Yeah.
And I know that all these guys had no movement clauses, so they know basically that this is what you have moving forward. But there are other pieces coming in and out now. At least now everything's basically set in stone. Now you can really visualize the end goal and get things going, right? So maybe this is what the Edmonton Oilers needed to get back to where they were before.
So more trades trickling in. Fabian Zetterlund sounds like he's going to Ottawa. We're still waiting on details on that. Eric Johnson heading to Colorado. Carlo to Toronto. Marchand to Florida. Those are the ones trickling after 1 o'clock. So we'll wait and see what the returns are on these deals. And listen, Oiler fans. I mean, there's some Oiler fans that are okay with what the Oilers did at the deadline. They got in it early. I'm sure they were working today. The phones. I know Tommy at one point said from his sources they were in a holding pattern, but that could mean another team involvement. Could have meant waiting on a player to see if he would waive his no movement, right?
Yeah.
So it could mean a lot of different things. Stan Bowman is coming up at 1:30. We'll have it live for you here. He'll be asked all those tough questions. Did he do enough? And I know for the majority of Oilers fans, it's a fat no. But I do think the three guys could turn this team and make them a little bit better. I do think the decor, now you go Kulak, Nurse, Ekholm, Bouchard, and you're probably going to go Walman, Emerson. That's not bad, Gage. Because I like Kulak on the right more than any other.
It's
lefties.
the only guy I trust over there, right? That's a left-handed guy. And he's shown that Nurse and Kulak are actually sometimes the best pair.
Yeah.
On certain nights.
100%.
I think for most of it. Yeah, and Walman with Emerson, I think we'll have to see how it looks.
Yeah, we'll have to see. And, up front, what do you do when Trent Frederick's good? I almost split up that third line. Mark Brown, Enrique. Dusty brought up a good point on the oil stream. Do you just put Frederick as a third-line center, find his two wingers, and move Enrique into the top six, and maybe he works with Draisaitl? I like that idea because as a center, he's not having a good year.
I think Dusty, didn't he say he fixed everything when he said that? So I got time for it. You know what I kind of have time for that I was hoping we saw last night for a time was just Mad Max up with either Leon or and I know things were going quite well, so you probably didn't want to mess with the chemistry too much. But I'm interested to see a guy with his size and what looked like pretty good skating ability, just a bigger body playing next to Leon. A little bit more oomph.
Yeah, no, it's not bad. And hey, guys, let's keep in mind the Oilers are getting Evander Kane at some point. Well, knock on wood, we don't know that.
No, we don't.
But he's an addition to me, and I know he hasn't played in a while, but once he's ready to go, he's a solid top six addition.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And I mean, I think even more valuable in the bottom six if everyone's going in the top, if you can have Evander with
imagine him with Frederick.
Frederick, yeah.
And
Max. That's a big line.
That can go toe to toe with Bennett. Wow.
Well,
and in terms of feistiness, not in terms of the skill there. So we'll see. Let's see. If it got done in time by Darren Dreger, Buffalo sends Yoki Haru to Boston. So Boston cleaning house, sending Carlo, Marchand, Charlie Coyle out, Trent Frederick, obviously. So it almost sounds like they're waving the white flag. Let's reset for next year and see what we can do.
And I know you think Marchand going to Florida he's injured right now, right?
Yeah.
But this guy's played his whole career in Boston. Yeah. Now he's going to go to Florida. It's going to be completely different. You're basically living in a hotel for what he hopes for is the next. That's a big transition for a guy to go to a new team. Who knows?
Yeah.
It doesn't always work out. So Oilers fans, sometimes standing pat can be the best thing to do and not completely disrupt your dressing room. Because look, these teams that have been together, they've spilt blood in the same mud, and they're all trying to get to the promised land. And you bring a new player in, what that does is start knocking guys down the lineup. Now, the role of one person now is redefined as something else. Sometimes that can really mess with the chemistry of a team.
All right, we got to get out because Stan Bowman is coming up. He will meet with the Edmonton media. We're going to go live down to Rogers Place for that. The afternoon inbox is presented by the River Cree Resort and Casino, home of Tap 25 Restaurant, where the entire menu is 50% off 7 days a week from 2 to 5 p.m. We'll continue the Oilers talk. Oiler fans are fired up. They feel they didn't do enough, weren't aggressive enough, and we understand it. We're also going to talk about all the other teams that loaded up and what does it affect chemistry. If you look at Colorado, they're bringing in about 5-6 new guys. We'll get Gage's thoughts on that. And of course, yours on the Nasty Chat and the River Cree Inbox. 780-218-9999. Stan Bowman up next here on EST Afternoons.
There are 6 games on the NHL slate featuring the Red Wings on the road to meet the Capitals. Winnipeg heads to Jersey, and the Golden Knights get Sidney Crosby in the Pens in the late window. The Central is showing up for the deadline day as the Stars make the biggest splash, grabbing Mikko Rantanen and extending him for $96 million over the next 8 seasons. Wyatt Johnson, he gets his own 8-year deal. The Avs get Charlie Coyle and Brock Nelson. Then the Jets, they add Luke Schenn and Brandon Tanev. Many nowhere to be found. Some other big moves include Dylan Cousins in exchange for Josh Norris and Jared Bernard-Docker. The Kings picked up Kuzmenko, and the Leafs traded for Scott Lawton. To the association, there are 8 games on the hard court, including the Raptors welcoming the Jazz to the north. Memphis takes off for Dallas, and the Clippers see the Knickerbockers on the second half of a back-to-back in LA. And a little NFL news that's not going to get by me. The Commanders re-signed Bobby Wagner on a 1-year deal worth $9.5 million. This sports update is brought to you by Gimme Virtual Golf. Step into a whole new golfing experience with 240 unique courses for you to play, featuring innovative technology that automatically tees up the ball for you while replicating real-life ball lies, shifting the ball in 24 different directions. Gimme Virtual Golf, where innovation meets the game. Visit their website at gimmevirtualgolf.ca. Stan Bowman, around the break. I'm Brendan Eric, and you're up to date.
The EST Hangout.
I thought you were being positive.
Oh, yeah, sorry. I completely agree. He was on a really bad Jets team. His coach didn't really understand the offense or which style of offense that Aaron Rodgers needed to succeed.
That was very well done, but somebody needs to get you a breath mint because there's so much crap coming out of your mouth.
The EST Hangout, presented by Sentinel Storage. Weekday mornings 9 to 11, only on Edmonton Sports Talk. Your clear choice for Edmonton sports.
Love is in the air.
I love you.
And you? And you? And you? Why choose between your beloved items? Sentinel Storage, keeping your treasures safe to be loved again. Try 4 weeks free. Details at sentinelstorage.ca.
Hey Edmonton, ready to take advantage of lower rates and better pricing? South Fort Chevrolet in Fort Saskatchewan has you covered. From rugged trucks to sleek SUVs. And with over 40 years in business, you can trust that you're getting the best deal on your new ride. As the proud title sponsor of the Nielsen Show, EST listeners can drive a little to save a lot with South Fort Chevrolet's transparent pricing and down-to-earth sales team. Visit us today in Fort Saskatchewan or online at southfortchev.com.
Your home for live music and great performances is the River Cree Resort and Casino. Don't miss the internationally recognized tribute, the Alan Jackson Experience, April 18th at the River Cree Resort and Casino. Get your tickets at rivercreeresort.com. River Cree Resort and Casino. Excitement? Bet on it.
Hungry and need it now? The Canadian Brewhouse Express Lunch, served in under 15 minutes or it's free, Monday to Friday till 2 p.m. Roasted turkey club and soup, Alberta Wagyu ravioli, and more. Fast, fresh, and no excuses. Get to the Canadian Brewhouse. Our house is your house.
1:32. Welcome back to EST Afternoons here. What a fun day. Trade deadline has passed. Oilers fans are fired up because the Oilers didn't do enough.
Yes, they. It's okay.
It's okay. It's going to be okay.
But they needed to do more.
Yeah. Slam that thumbs up. 57 already. Let's crush that number for trade deadline. Let's do it for the new Oilers. Jake Walman, who I probably were a 96.
Really?
Is that too close to 99?
Well, maybe. I have to ask Maddie.
Oh, man. I'm excited to watch him play. I am.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it seems like a good
Why
dude.
wouldn't you?
Some people are saying, why don't you try Ekholm with Walman? Because Drew Remendez said he's better obviously on the left.
Yeah.
He's played a bit on the right, so I think Kulak transitions to the right better than any of the left.
From what we've seen. We don't know. We don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe he does, but it doesn't have him on here. Like, whatever. You're not going to see the... What do you think of Dineen just quickly last night?
You know what? I did not mind. Now, he had a few little misreads and some tough.
Yeah.
He was like, the goal he gains is not on him, it's on Emerson. He gave him a bad pass when Caulfield's right on.
Yeah.
But I like the way he moved. Good passer. He's 26 though.
Yeah.
He does have NHL experience, but for me, I did not mind him at all. And for me, he's an interesting guy that I think should get maybe a bit more looks if you run into injuries.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it was very interesting. I like the confidence. Like when he took the puck behind the net and then tried to come out and score.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of guys would just dump it back behind the net and try to get back to their position but yeah, I like the cojones on him.
Yeah, he was, he looked good.
He looked good.
Yeah, I was not, you know what, it was funny because I thought he wasn't going to get a lot of ice time.
Me too.
Being honest. I thought.
But how about when he's out there and Koff throws him out in overtime?
Yeah. And did you see in the third period he ended up playing with Bouchard? Which was interesting.
Yeah.
Because listen, Bouchard in overtime was a hero. But the 2 turnovers before he scored the goal, I mean, if those go in, people are losing their mind.
He tried to be a zero, but became the hero.
Became, like someone said on the postgame show, our default hero. It is amazing. Some Oiler fans, like, they rather the Oilers just crap the bed so they're right. Like, like people were upset he scored the overtime winner.
Are you serious?
Yes, people were upset.
Wow.
It's crazy.
Northside Sandwich in the Nats chat saying, nothing from Vegas?
No, it doesn't
seem like it. But didn't they come in super late? Like, there's the log jam of deals, right? I think, I don't know. Vegas probably waiting for the last second and then hitting send, right?
Okay, we're waiting to see if Stan Bowman's going to be available on the YouTube channel. That way we can play it. If not, we'll have to wait, and then we'll have to get the video and the audio and play it just a bit later here. But nothing yet so far. So we wait here on EST Afternoon. Let's go through some trades, all right? So Brad Marchand still don't know the return. Brandon Carlo to the Leafs in exchange for Fraser Minton, which is a very, very AHLer guy. Henry Jokiharju to the Bruins. The return still not available. Earlier today, Charlie Coyle goes to the Avalanche for Casey Middlestat. Picks and prospects there. Luke Kunin from the Sharks to the Columbus Blue Jackets for a 4th-round pick. Mikko Rantanen to the Dallas Stars for Logan Stankoven and 2 first-round picks.
And a 2/3 as well.
And 2/3. Scott Lawton, 4th-round, 6th-round pick to the Leafs in exchange for Nikita Grebenkin and a conditional 2027 first-round pick back to the Flyers. The Jets add a couple of vets. They get Luke Chen from the Pittsburgh Penguins, who was just traded a few days ago from Nashville for a 2nd and a 3rd-round pick. And they also get Brandon Tanev, goes back to Winnipeg for a 2nd-round pick from the Kraken. This trade is interesting to me. Dylan Cousins, Dennis Gilbert, and a 2026 2nd-rounder to Ottawa for Jacob Bernard-Docker and Josh Norris. I don't know what the Sabres are doing, man. We'll get to it. It's crazy. Like, Kuzmenko from the Flyers to the Kings for a 3rd-rounder, and Beauvillier from the Pittsburgh Penguins to the Washington Capitals. Beauvillier's moved a lot in the last 2 years, man. So those are the big trades. I'm going to read this one because it's kind of funny. Utah gets Shea Weber, Victor Soderstrom, and Aku Radi for a 6th-round pick. Shea Weber's still getting moved, eh? He's still getting moved. Yeah, let's check in on the inbox. No, nothing yet.
I haven't seen anything.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So Tommy Gazzola just saying that there's reports out there that the Oilers went in on Rantanen. They checked in. They were not close. Okay, perfect. And that's coming from Tom Gazzola, who has got his sources. And
it's like an octopus. He's got tentacles everywhere.
Yeah, so they checked in, but we're never close. So I know that's making its rounds on the X machine. So we can kind of squash that right away. I don't know. I don't see how the Oilers could have fit in Rantanen. It would have been amazing. Absolutely.
Now, you don't know. Like, that's the thing. I'm kind of soured on Rantanen a little bit.
Why?
Well, when the trade was announced that he was going to Carolina, I thought, whoa, this is huge. But look at his play when he went there.
Okay, but I'll look at it this way. He was shocked he was traded, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so he was shocked. He goes there, and maybe he just does, like, it's his, like, I always look at it, it's his right to say, well, I don't know if I want to sign here. And that's what he told them. I don't know if I want to stay here. So then Carolina's like, well, we better move this guy. We're going to lose him for nothing.
Yeah.
I think that's what happened. I think you have to look at Carolina management and say, woof, they blew this one.
Stankoven's a good player, but Marty Necas is a really good player. That's what it turns out being? Really?
Yeah.
They got 2 firsts, like, and a 2/3 over the next couple years. But that team's, again, that's a team in its window. And now you've added a good player.
They've taken a step back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Huge.
They're no longer in that window.
Because they're old, too.
Yeah.
There's a lot of age on that team. Carolina Hurricanes messed this up big time.
Their analytics GM and their assistant analytics GM got taken to school. And that's just the way it is. Like, how do you trade for a guy and not having conversations before and say, hey, what are the possibilities of you signing here? Because you can tell from Mikko Rantanen, it didn't work from day one.
Yeah, you see a career-long GM, a little bit more knowledgeable in Dallas with that deal, talking to Rantanen first. They said this trade is not going through unless we can sign Rantanen. So Rantanen agrees to an extension.
Yeah.
Boom. Trade done. That's what you do if you're Carolina. You don't just assume that this is a place where, any player, doesn't matter where you're from, wants to hang his hat for the next 8 years.
Well, you think Sebastian Aho sitting there saying, like, what just
happened?
happened?
Yeah.
On a side note, Joaquin made a fresh batch of cafecito, and it's really good.
It is unbelievable.
Well done. You got that dad touch.
Yeah.
Yeah, when it comes to making coffee. Well done, buddy. I appreciate that.
Hey, you needed it.
Hernan was a little tired, so I needed a little pick-me-up, and we await nothing yet from the Oilers on Stan Bowman. B, you're not seeing anything? No? Supposed to be at 1:30. Maybe there is a trade. I'm kidding. Let's get to some messages here. I'm kind of scared.
Coyote Steve. Bowman has trouble with other GMs, and thus Oilers never got in on Marchand, Carlos, Soucy, etc. This tells me Oilers' first-round exit. Coyote Steve, I don't know.
I mean, any team can lose in the first round, Joaquin.
Yeah, it's almost to the point in the NHL. Like, you can't, even last year, I'll admit I had the Oilers losing almost every round.
Last year?
Yeah, except the first. Yeah. I said they were going to lose it. I didn't like their chances. It's all about getting in at a point. You can look back and, it would have been great to have home ice and certain things, but what we've seen, I think, almost consistently is a team that you wouldn't expect to go far actually sometimes get to the finals. And I'm not saying it was the Oilers, but you look at the Montreal Canadiens, a few years back, no one expected them to do what they did. There's just sometimes there's a little bit of Cinderella syndrome with certain teams. You just hope you can keep that slipper on for as long as possible.
Shoggy in St. Albert, when the orders are out in the first round, who do you blame? Well, it's March 7th, so who knows? I mean, it could be the assembly of this lineup. It can be goaltending. It can be defense. It can be special teams. It can be a lack of offense. Like, we can't answer that today, guys.
No. I mean, what happens if, like, Jan-Marc Brown and Henrique
are great,
have 21 points combined in the first round and the Oilers lose? You're saying, well, that's what you needed, right?
Yeah.
JJ and Stan Bowman, that's what we got them here for this time of year.
Okay, McLovin.
Not saying that's going to happen.
River Korean Box, McLovin says, they made it to the Cup finals last year, so it's automatic that they'll make it back there again, even though the team is smaller, older, and slower. Well, no one's saying that. No one's saying that. It's going to be tough. Just look at the teams in that other division that loaded up. Joel from Bonnie. I think the Oilers did as much as they could. Not a lot of cap room. Brought in some good depth. I like it. So some positivity there from Joel. Leon looking for help, and he sent that gif of John Travolta
nice.
Looking around. This one, no name. I hope Jeff Jackson learned a valuable lesson in his first year as not a GM. And what is that? No movement clauses aren't Halloween candy. Such a fail of a deadline goal. You're not wrong. I've been saying this. And listen, Ken Holland gave a lot out too. So when you're on a Stanley Cup contender and you're signing with that team, that should be enough.
Yeah. And when you look around the league, there's not as many. And look, it's not like the Edmonton Oilers have to go through Dallas, Winnipeg, Colorado. You know, that's not going to happen. Like as of right now, it's a little bit of Groundhog Day. Edmonton Oilers would play the Los Angeles Kings with home ice advantage. I think that's acceptable, right? Vegas would play Colorado first round right now. So you're getting rid of one of those two teams. Then obviously Edmonton the second. It just gets harder and harder. And then probably in the last one, it's either, I'm going to guess, either Winnipeg or Dallas. The road it's hard. It's just as hard as it was last year. Just because these other players are there, you're not having to go through every single team. I think the path to the Stanley Cup is just as hard as last year. I don't think it's any harder.
Yeah, Shoggy says every other team in the West hopes to get to it. Well, I don't know about that. Like, Shoggy, you're overly negative usually, so I understand where you're like. That's just what you always send in. But I mean, you still have the two best players in the world. That means something.
And didn't show up in the Game 7 of the finals. I'm not sure. I don't think you can say that.
Well, the Oilers had to work so hard to get back in that series that in Game 7 they ran out of gas.
Yeah.
No, like, enough with the excuses. I get it, but listen, the Edmonton Oilers are still a good team. I mean, it's not based on the last 2 weeks, but they played a lot better yesterday. They're getting some fresh bodies. I mean, we have to hope, and it sucks to say it, but we have to hope that one of Arvidsson, one of those guys that haven't been able to produce here, wakes up, does something.
Yeah.
That's the only way. Okay, it's 1:45. It sounds like Stan Bowman is delayed, so we're going to get out here, so we don't want to miss the start of it if it is indeed going to be able to be played on our station. So coming up, hopefully we can have some Stan Bowman press portions of this hour brought to you by the Canadian Brewhouse. NHL lives at the Canadian Brewhouse. Every Oilers game day, get $1 off tankards of Molson Canadian and Coors Light, where you can win game tickets and 2 tickets to a surf and turf dinner at the end of the season. Full details at thecanadianbrewhouse.com. We'll continue the trade deadline coverage here, recap all the trades, and continue to talk Oilers and see what the pairings will be, what the forward lines will be when everybody is good to go. And are you as down as many Oilers fans that you're seeing a first-round exit? We can't, let's just wait, guys. Let's just wait and see what happens here with this team. All right? Hopefully, Stan Bowman on the other side of the break here on EST Afternoons.
There are 6 games on the NHL slate featuring the Red Wings on the road to meet the Capitals. Winnipeg heads to New Jersey. The Golden Knights get Sidney Crosby and the Pens in the late window. Central Division is showing up for deadline day as the Stars make the biggest splash, grabbing Mikko Rantanen and extending him to an 8-year deal worth $96 million. Wyatt Johnson also getting an 8-year deal of his own. The Avs, they grabbed Charlie Coyle and Brock Nelson, and then the Jets, they had 2 vets in Luke Schenn and Brandon Tanev. Some other big moves include Dylan Cousin in exchange for Josh Norris, Jacob Bernard-Docker. The Kings, they picked up Kuzmenko, and the Leafs are trading for Scott Lawton. To the association, there are 8 games on the hard court, including the Raptors welcoming the Jazz to the north. Memphis takes off for Dallas, and the Clippers, they see the Knickerbockers on their second game in LA. A little NFL news. The Commanders, they re-signed Bobby Wagner to a 1-year deal worth $9.5 million. And this sports update is brought to you by Capital Care. Financial support deeply affect residents at Capital Care, whether it's a one-time donation or a monthly contribution. Every penny counts. Find out how you can donate at capitalcarefoundation.net. Hopefully, Stan Bowman up next. I'm Brendan Eric, and you're up to date.
The Reed Wilkins Show with Jay Milne.
The reply I got was, he's effing awesome. Great dude, hard shot, skates well, makes good passes out of the zone. He and Cece were our best pair. Of course, Cece's been traded to Dallas. Walman can play on the power play, will be physical and block shots. And this person says, I'm pissed to lose him.
The Reed Wilkins Show with Jay Milne, weekday afternoon 3 to 6, only on Edmonton Sports Talk. Your clear choice for Edmonton sports.
Celebrating 70 years in the signage industry, William Huff Advertising is the most recognized name in the game. An in-house, one-stop shop for all of your design, print, and installation needs. William Huff provides quality graphic solutions for everyone. Here in our City of Champions and throughout the nation, they are the preferred signage partner entrusted by many of the biggest corporations, pro sports teams, and organizations to bring their identity to life. Recognize the name, get in the game. WilliamHuff.com.
Looking for a winning strategy for your retirement? Contact me, Joaquin Gage at K4 Financial, where expertise meets dedication. I will always look for a careful approach to your retirement, ensuring your financial future is secure. From tailored strategies to clear, actionable advice, I'm here to guide you every step of the way. Don't leave your future to chance. Get in touch with me, Joaquin Gage, today at k4financial.ca or email joaquin.gage@k4financial.ca to start planning for a brighter future and a more secure retirement.
Your home for live music and great performances is the River Cree Resort and Casino. Don't miss the internationally recognized tribute, the Alan Jackson Experience, April 18th at the River Cree Resort and Casino. Get your tickets at rivercreeresort.com. River Cree Resort and Casino. Excitement? Bet on it.
.150 here on Edmonton Sports Talk, TSC Afternoons. Joaquin Gage, Hernan Salas, Brendan Eric with you. The Oilers have sent out a statement on Evander Kane. Here it goes. After further consultation with the team medical staff, it has been determined that forward Evander Kane will not be ready to return to action for the remainder of the 2024-25 regular season. As a result, he will remain on LTIR. Joaquin, that should make Oiler fans...
well, at least we know, right?
Well, finally.
I think, well, after they it's weird timing to say it now, right? So I'm assuming that the discussions with doctors, this is something that they knew beforehand. Yeah, it's...
Okay, well, it was a possibility. I mean, a lot of people said he might not be ready to go, and obviously he will not be ready. Can you just jump into a playoff series? I mean, sure. That's what's going to happen here. They have no other choice.
Yeah,
if he plays.
If he plays. You hope he does. Again, I think his game translates a lot easier for to get up to speed because of the physical element, right? It's not like Jeff Skinner that has to go out there and try to be creative offensively. Like that.
Yeah.
It's easier to play the way that Evander Kane can play. And they're going to need it, I think. You're going to need to wear down teams with what the Edmonton Oilers have. They've added a little bit more beef, right? Some bigger guys, physical guys. But I think they need Evander Kane, man.
So do I. I mean, a healthy Evander Kane at 100% is a huge addition to this team. But
because let's face it, over like the past 2 seasons, he hasn't been. He's always been banged up. You know.
Katie, someone please explain to me what the heck is going on. Shoggy in St. Albert, clown show of an organization. Deskar says they use this cap space. T-Man Kane will make it back. He's a playoff guy. Coyote Steve, guys, that's like wiping your butt before a poop. Bowman, Jackson are no comparison to Holland.
I love these ones. Like Holland was just torn apart for so long. And now, I mean, I didn't like the way that he left the organization. I wasn't a huge fan of it. But don't tell me now that you're clamoring for Ken Holland back after what he went through for 5 years with people. I thought he did a great job.
This one, no name. The moves Jeff Jackson made in the summer set the Oilers back a year. Kenny had the team going in the right direction.
I read that one.
I mean,
too.
now hindsight's
right? 2020.
We're on the go right here. We're trying to get the audio here for Stan the man. Katie, it's coming. We're just working on it. Hopefully we can have it. It's fortunately it's only on Oilers Plus, something we can't run, so we're trying to get the audio stream of it. And if we can't do it live, we'll probably have to play it a little bit later. I can also there's going to be tons of quotes, so we'll give you that. So we apologize for that, but we can't run something from Oilers Plus as that's kind of their stuff there. If it was on YouTube, it's a different story. So we apologize for that. And like I said, we'll keep tracking what he's saying here. KD says, I'm fired up, boys. Yeah, no doubt. KD's not happy right
now. No. A lot of people are unhappy. Like they wanted to see the bright and shiny new toy, right? But like you said, it's they met some issues. They had with solidifying some defensive players, a little bit bigger, a little bit faster. But yeah, it's not the big move that we've seen around the league.
And I understand it's cup or bust here in Edmonton. It's going to be like this for the next number of years. I understand that. But
big slam nasty.
Ooh.
Oh, I think we're almost with.
Okay. Yeah.
We're looking to get Stan Bowman and what he says here. Big Sam Lasty. In the River Cree inbox, 780-218-9999. Some teams play checkers.
Okay.
Found you only have 20 games left, so if you have to incorporate a lot of new players, it can be challenging. So I think we struck the right balance this year as far as the number of new players and where they play. In particular, I think Walman's a really big upgrade for our group. He's somebody that we've talked about going back to the middle of the year as a big target. And, I've been Mike Greer's probably tired of talking to me about him because I've been told a long time that he wouldn't trade him. Not going to trade him. He's got another year. I don't have to trade him. We just kind of stuck with it. And then the other day when we pitched it to him, I think we got his attention and we eventually got it, to where he came in. So I think that's a big piece that we're excited about. And then, we talked about the desire for our team to have a bit of a different look. I think if you looked at our team as it was before this week, we have a lot of players that are similar up front. They're kind of different versions of the same player. They have different attributes, but for the most part, they're not like Frederick or Jones. Those guys have a much different skill set, and I think it's something that we've been lacking. And as a result, it was an important piece for us to address that. And so we're looking back now on the moves we made, and I'm really excited. I think our staff did a great job. I got to commend them. Put in a lot of long hours with different ideas to get us to where we are today, and I think we're looking really good.
We've seen Chris Knobloch audition numerous players next to Leon Draisaitl on that second line, Arvidsson, Skinner, Podkolzin, and there have been a kind of a revolving door there. What is your analysis of what's available there to you? And when you look at what you've got on your roster here, do you feel like there's something there that still has a chance to stick?
Yeah, it's funny because I do get this question a fair amount too about, Leon's probably the MVP of the league this year, right? And he's going to lead the league in goals, and he's pretty close in points. So, he seems to do it with whoever he plays with. So I think that's a testament to the season that he's having, that he's not relying on just one line mate. He's had a number of different players there. You're right. So who's it going to be going forward? I'm not quite sure yet. I think that we have different options, and I think that's something that's going to, I guess, unfold over the coming 20 games. You're right. I think Podkolzin and Arvidsson have probably spent the most time with him, if you look at the numbers. And maybe that's the way it'll be. And if not, we have some other guys that might get a look there too. We have a few new players. I think when Frederick gets in the lineup, we've got to decide if we're going to use him at center or on the wing. Because I think if we're going to play him on the wing, he could play on the top two lines, or if we're going to use him in the middle, he's probably on the third line. So that's a couple weeks away until we're going to know that. But and then Jones had a really good night last night, I thought. Where will he end up? I don't really know that either. But even Kapanen's played a bit with Leon, and Cappy's been great at center the last stretch too. So I think that we do have a lot of options. Now it's for the coaches to figure out which ones are going to lead us to the most success as a team.
And sorry, Matty, just real quick, is that something that you looked at addressing today? Like, did you nibble around trying to find someone for that spot potentially?
I don't know if it was just a spot for Leon per se. We were looking, we were looking at, can we bring anyone else in that would complement this group? And we tried, but it just wasn't a fit.
Hey, Stan. Sorry, Manny. Just want to ask you about the West was always going to be hard to get out of, and then you saw what happened in the Central with Rantanen coming in here. And just a thought on that, on the arms race, maybe in the Central Division, the fact that it almost makes trying to win the division even more important than having to go through some of those teams.
Yeah, I mean, my experience is that no matter where you are in the top 8, you're going to play a good team in the first round. It's just the way it is. If you win the division, the wild card team is going to be a really strong team. So no question about it, some teams improved quite a bit now, at least on paper. Now the question is, how does it all come together, with the group they already have? Time will tell. I mean, not every team that looks great now, if we talk in 2 months, is going to look great. Like, sometimes things just don't work. So that's why we play the games. I think if you try to worry about your opponents too much, then you lose sight of what matters. And we've got to do what we do well. And if we play our game well and we play it to the best of our ability, we're a really strong team. And I think we're a stronger team than we were for that stretch when we were one of the top 2 or 3 teams in the league. So I think we need to get the group that we had here playing back to that level. And then when you add in these new pieces and they integrate, I'm very hopeful and optimistic with the group.
And we all saw the statement on Kane. I was just, what kind of player do you expect to get back, or will he be able to play with you in the playoffs? And what kind of player do you expect to get if he is back in the playoffs?
Yeah, Well, I think a healthy Evander Kane is such a. I'm trying to think of how many guys are like him in the league. There's probably a handful that can play like him with his size, his scoring ability, his intensity, his physicality, intimidation. Pretty small list of guys when he's back healthy, playing at that level. So without a doubt, we want to get him there. And I think the biggest thing is when he's able to play at that level, and he's fully healed, he's ready. So I do expect him to be back at some point. We don't exactly know when that will be. It's not going to be in the regular season. Will it be at the start of the playoffs? I don't know. If we can play long enough, he will definitely be back playing for us this year. So, he's got a lot of elements that can be game changing. So I think that's another attribute that we liked with Frederic and Jones is when you look with Evander, with Max Jones and Trent Frederic, those three players, that's a handful to handle in a playoff series, and I expect and I hope them to all be there making a difference.
Stan, you got a left shot defenseman in Walman. Were you looking at a right shot defenseman? And Walman's a puck mover. Were you looking at somebody who's bigger and has some snarl to play in the top six?
We're looking for good players, first and foremost. He's number one defenseman on their team, and they've had a tough year. But you look at the way he's performed, to be able to perform at that level on a team that's had it's been a struggle a bit for that team this year. I think it shows you how well he's played. So I love his skill set. I think he's got he's a big guy. Maybe he's not super tall, but he's 6'1", almost 220 pounds. So he's strong and he can skate, makes plays, very competitive. He doesn't play a passive game. He's involved in the game. I think our forwards are going to enjoy playing with him, whether he's a left or a right. I think sometimes that gets overblown a little bit. I mean, Kulak's played a lot on the right this year, and I think Kulak's had his best year. He's been fantastic for us. So whether Walman plays on the right or whether Kulak does, I think those are options for the coaches. But I think Jake's going to be a big part of this. So I think to add someone like that, he's a young guy still. He's got more years ahead of him on his contract. So, I think it's going to be a big, big upgrade for the D.
You mentioned about your team can play better. You had a stretch there where they played better. A lot of your forwards have not lived up to last year's standards. Can they just flip the switch and suddenly be playing like they did last year?
I don't know about flipping the switch. I think it's probably more of a process than it is flipping the switch. But I remember sitting in this room when I first started, and I remember saying to the group that the way that sports work is that I think everyone's expectations are everyone is going to pick up where they left off and be just as good or better the next year. And I said, although I hope that's the case, I know it probably won't be. And so we have seen some players they haven't played as well as they did last year. That's a bit the nature of sports, though. And excuse me. I think the fact that it's not a straight line all the time. That whether it's our special teams have been good at times, and I think we've got to find a way, and each player individually has to dig down and find out what is it about their game that was better last year and how can they be better. Sometimes it's just their own individual performance. Sometimes it's who they're with and the way the team is playing. So I don't think it's a matter of flipping a switch. If only it was that easy. I think it's probably a little more nuanced than that, and it requires those players. All they can do is take it upon themselves to be the best version of themselves. And there's certainly room for growth for a lot of our players.
One last thing, you've got lots of players. You've got 24 players now. Is there any thought that you're going to be less than that? I know you're still under the cap, but that's a lot of players, 8 defensemen and extra forwards.
I I don't know how you do it any other way. I mean, I don't think this is the time of year where you've only got 4 recalls after the trade deadline, so it's not like you can be bringing a lot of guys up and down. The system is sort of designed to be this way. The roster opens up as of the deadline, so I think every team's probably got 14 or 15 forwards and 8 defensemen. I mean, if you don't, then where are you going to get your players from? So I think it's a competition now. I think it's good to have players looking around to realize that if I'm not on my game, someone's going to take my spot. Maybe that was different earlier in the year when you have a smaller group, but I think now bring your best every night, and if not, then you're probably going to find yourself out of the lineup.
Stan, just over here. I know you guys just put out the statement about Evander Kane. You've been talking about him, but can you say when exactly you came to the conclusion or the determination that he would be out for the remainder of the regular season? And can you describe just how much this has kind of factored into your decisions this year and how difficult it's been to kind of gauge his uncertainty?
Yeah, it's been hard for sure. Very recently, we finally, the goal all along was to try to give as much time as we could for our doctors and our staff to assess his readiness to return. Because some of the complicating factors with Evander is it's not like he has a broken bone where it's pretty obvious. You take an X-ray and you say, okay, it's healed or it's not healed, and the return to play is a little bit more concrete. This situation is different. He had very involved double surgery, and then he had the knee procedure in January, which was really a non. It wasn't like an injury per se. It was just something he had to get cleaned up. But it did set back sort of his training, because when you go through a big surgery like Evander did, there's a couple of phases to it. There's just getting back to doing regular things, and then you could progress that into start to heal and then train, and then now he's beyond all that. Like, he's doing well, but now you got to get into the performance side of it, where you've got to really ramp yourself up to be ready to play in an NHL game where the intensity is super high. So there's certain milestones you have to hit. Now that we know where we are and how much time is left, he's not going to be able to close that gap in that amount of time. So it's still not exactly known. It's not like we know he's going to be ready by this date. We just know he's not going to be ready by the end of the regular season, which is why it became clear that we had to look at improving our team a different way, because he's not going to be coming back in that time period.
You've been working on kind of the 2 tracks all year, right? And
right.
When was the determination made that you could work with his money? Like,
just the last day. I mean, really, we made that decision, and that's why, fortunately, these trades that we were discussing didn't have to be executed last week, because if so, then we wouldn't have been able to. But some trades were made before, but we wouldn't have been able to do that because we didn't have the information. We waited as long as we could to where we said, like, we need an answer. Is he going to be ready or not?
And just one quick one on Tread Frederick. Do you have any idea when he can play? When are you expecting him to make his Oilers debut?
No, we haven't talked about Trent a bit. I do want to talk about him because I think his game is going to translate really well to this, to our team and to the fans here. I think they're going to love watching Freddie play. I've only met him once, and he's got a great personality. He seems to love life. He's one of those guys that's upbeat, optimistic, fun to be around. And when the game starts, he plays to win. He's a very competitive guy, and I think he brings an element we just don't have. He's a lot to handle on the ice. He's a big guy, and he can score too. He can play center. So he's got that flexibility to play in the middle or play up the lineup on the wing. I think timing-wise, it's a couple weeks. I don't really know for sure. He's going to play certainly before April. I just don't know when that will be.
Stan, you make a couple trades leading up to deadline day today, but when you get here this morning, you got about $300,000 in cap space. You have a fair amount of no move and no trade clauses to deal with. You're on the LTIR situation. Did you find, obviously you would need other teams to take your money to make a deal happen. Did you find that you were just maybe too encumbered today to get done what you wanted to do?
No, I think with the cap, there's always ways of, having teams retain, like we did in Frederick's deal. We had him cut in half twice. So those are always options. I don't know if it's just trying to find the match of the player and how he's the right player with the right term left that matches up with what you have to offer that team. And some teams aren't looking for prospects. Some teams want a player back. And we're not really in that mode of having a roster player to be. We're trying to add to our group, not really do lateral trades. So some teams we weren't a match for just because our group didn't line up with their group. We were in on a few things with players that ended up going to other teams, and we couldn't have made that trade because they had a player that was expendable that we didn't. So it's always a match of, do you have what the other team is looking for, and then are you willing to pay the price? So there's a couple different reasons deals don't happen. So I don't think we were, handicapped by that. I mean, it's just a challenge. Sure, we didn't have an unlimited budget, but at the same time, I was cognizant of not trying to bring in too many new players. Like, I think that is a fair question, is how many bodies are too many to try to integrate with your group and find that chemistry. You don't want to spend too much time just trying out all kinds of new combinations. You're trying to win games and you're trying to prepare yourself for the playoffs.
Along those lines, big picture strategy. There are those who would say, you're in this window, you have Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl on their, their previous deals here, that you got to be all in every year while you have these guys. What would you say to those who would, ask that question? Did you push enough chips in considering the window you have with these guys? And what's your philosophy about that versus keeping something in the cupboards for the future?
Yeah, I think we're all in to try to win right now. I mean, that's been our focus for sure. We don't have many draft picks this year. We got a couple, which is, it's tough on the amateur scouts, but I understand that. That's the price of being a team that's trying to add to their group. So there was no hesitation to trade first round picks or prospects. That wasn't you're not just going to carelessly trade them away. But I think that was a big part of the reason we got Walman, was we stepped up and gave him a first rounder. And I don't know if they had that from other teams, but I think that's what ultimately got it done for us, is we didn't mess around and try to get too cute with it. We saw a player we valued and we went out and got him. So first round picks are valuable, but players are even more valuable for where we are. So we were aggressive on that front.
Do you view your strategy this year to have been fairly aggressive?
Yes, definitely. Yep.
Stan, on a day like this, how focused are you on your targets and not paying attention to what else is going on, or the stuff that happens in your conference, does that weigh at all into influencing you guys to try and do something?
I think you're more focused on making your team as good as it can be, rather than just trying to react to what other teams do. Because at the end of the day, there's different ways to win, and you have certain strengths as a team already, and you're trying to either accentuate those strengths, or you're trying to figure out the areas where you're weak and to try to, fortify that. So, of course, you notice what other teams are doing, but I don't think you can try to react and make moves just to make moves because another team did. Whenever you're playing a team in a playoff series, first and foremost, you have to be playing great yourself. And if you're playing great and you're not winning, then you maybe need to be super focused on how to beat your opponent. But you're not going to beat these teams in the playoffs if you're not playing well. So it's really get our group to play. We've got some amazing players here, and we've got to do what we can to make sure that everyone around them is at the top of their game, and because then when you add that all up, we're going to be a tough team to beat.
Clearly, from where he was in the playoffs last year to the way this year has gone for him, there's been a step back. What are you seeing? Are there conversations to be had there, and how confident are you he'll find that level again?
Yeah, I mean, Kubusch seems to get a lot of talk about him. I think partially it's a sign of how good he is because he's got 11 goals, and you'd think he hasn't scored this year. He got the winning goal last night in overtime. Like I guess the bar is high for him, right? And I think anytime he does struggle in a game or has a play that doesn't work out, it gets highlighted, and I get it. That's the way it works. But I think he hasn't been on the top of his game. I think that's fair to say. But he's still a really good player. He does a lot of good things for us. I mean, you try not to look at the things that maybe stick out in your mind, but just look at sort of his underlying performance for this season. And if you do that, he's got tremendous performance this year. He does a lot of things really well. But he can play better, and we want him to, and I know he wants to, but he's still playing pretty good. I think that he does get a lot of attention. And like I said, I think for the amount of talk there is, you'd think he just scored his first goal last night, but he's doing pretty good.
Stan, sorry to go back a little bit here, but I know when you didn't match the 2 offer sheets in August that you did, part of the reason.
All right, that was Stan Bowman meeting with the Edmonton media. We just got to get the audio. The audio is still playing. All right. I mean, Gage, let's break it down. I think the big one is, and a lot of people are upset about it, is that they didn't know till yesterday that Evander Kane would be out to the regular season. I think it says a lot. What do you make of that statement?
Tough. There's so what he said, and if you're not doing your due diligence, right, with exploring all options and being proactive with things, you're not doing your job, right? So even though maybe they didn't know what was going to happen, they had to prepare for if it did happen, and they did have the space to get it done today. Okay, so they were put in a tough position, not only with the Evander Kane stuff, but also the no movements, right?
Yeah.
And also just how the last month has gone for the Oilers, right? So there was added pressure. There was concerns. You would like them to maybe make a little bit bigger of a splash, but they are a little bit better, I think, on the defensive side. You'd like to see something else.
A couple other things that stood out. Him saying that you didn't want to add too many players. And that's what I was going to get to with Colorado Avalanche, right? Like, there's something about chemistry for sure. I mean, he's added 3 guys. And he said, I didn't want to go. He said he was looking not necessarily for a winger for Draisaitl, but to upgrade the forward group. It didn't work out. But he also said, on the flip side, I don't know about adding too many guys to this lineup.
Yeah, no, you don't want to disrupt the room a little bit too, right? Like, that's what I'm saying. You bring in a guy, you knock a guy down or out of the lineup, and you don't know if that's going to fit too. It's like only one team gets it right,
Yeah.
But I think their hands were tied in 2 different areas: the Evander Kane and not being able to move guys. And there was probably some very difficult discussions with players on the Edmonton Oilers over the last few weeks with, hey, would you be willing to move your no trade clause? And probably a lot of guys said no.
Yeah. And that's their right.
Yeah.
That's why they got it.
That's why they got it.
And that's Jeff Jackson's doing, because he signed those players. The other interesting part about Evander Kane was he goes, we know he won't be ready for the regular season, but we don't know when he will be ready come playoff time. So he might not. And I know Reed's been saying this. He's probably not playing the rest of the year. And now he kind of left it open where he might not even be ready for the playoffs. At least early on.
Yeah. No. That's that's the problem. Like getting guys that are injured too. Like it's interesting. Hopefully these things work out, and by game 83, it's they're at full capacity, no injuries, and they're ready to go. But from what it sounds like to me is the issues with Evander Kane. Like,
who's it more on, Evander or the management for not knowing?
We'll
this
never know, man. I can speculate as much as possible. From what Stan Bowman just said, that he didn't know up till like that's.
I can't believe that.
I hope that's not the case. I mean, because that makes it so difficult. Imagine knowing that you need to get something accomplished, but you're waiting on something else to finalize before you do it. So it's just you're putting the cart before the horse all the time, and then maybe there was something, right?
Yeah.
And then are we good to go? I don't like it. It could have really handcuffed them, and that's complete speculation. Who knows? Maybe they knew all the time that Evander Kane wouldn't be ready for playoffs. So we can say whatever we want.
We don't know, and we'll never know.
We'll never know. We'll never get that information. But we'll see how Walman works out.
Yeah,
and take the next steps. But let's face it, Oilers have to play better first of all.
Yeah, and you know, like,
and last night was the first step towards that.
And the GM, and listen, we've been doing this for a while, and I know a lot of our Nazis are diehard Oiler fans and are used to these GM pressers. They're never going to dog on their team, right? Like he said, we got to be better. Like at one point, we were the best team in the league. We got to get back to that. We need more from the guys that are not producing. I think Jim Matheson asked that question. Hopefully they can find someone that works with Leon Draisaitl. I mean, he did say Kapanen was playing great at center. I don't know what he's watching. But, again, he's not going to torch Kasperi Kapanen in a media. Evan Bouchard was asked. I thought it was a great question. I think Speck asked that, like, he's not – I know YouTube, Trev, we're getting so many messages on the Nasty Chat, I lost it. But it was pretty much like, well, if you forget the bad, he's a pretty good defenseman. But you can't. Like, you can't look away. You can't ignore the bad of Evan Bouchard.
He said he's not playing up to what he should be. But he also said, look, the bar is quite high with this guy and understands it.
He goes, he has 11 goals, and you'd think he hasn't
scored.
Yeah.
And so
a lot to dissect. I mean, he's well spoken. He has long answers.
Yeah,
I'm trying to remember everything he said. But the big ones that stand out are Evander Kane. They didn't know until yesterday that he wouldn't be ready for the rest of the regular season, which is kind of mind-boggling. Saying that he didn't want to add too many new guys, which is interesting because I think a lot of GMs look at it that same way too.
Oh, yeah. I mean, but I just think he didn't have the option to add a bunch of new guys.
And listen, his hands were tied because Jeff Jackson gave no movements to a lot of guys. A lot of guys, and
maybe being a player agent, that's just what you did.
Yeah, sure. I mean, that's a good agent, though.
Oh yeah,
right. Like you work for the player, right? And unfortunately for the Oilers, their hands were tied. So
and Cass has said that on two guys. Yeah. It's guys with families. They want those types of things, right? You don't want to uproot your family, so they work hard for those.
Yeah,
those
of course.
Anchors.
Of course. And I think sometimes we forget that aspect. These guys are human too. They're not just robots and hockey players. So, hey, we're going to continue to dissect what Stan Bowman said. What did you think? We want to know on the River Korean Box, 780-218-9999. Like, what stood out to you? What bothers you about what you heard from the Oilers general manager? Also, send it to the Nasty Chat, and we'll get to as many as we can. We got to get a bunch of breaks in here, so we're going to take one quickly here. And here's Brendan with your sports update.
There are 6 games on the NHL slate featuring Utah as they head to the Madhouse to face off against the Blackhawks. The Canucks host the Wild, and St. Louis has the Orange County where the Ducks are waiting. The Central is showing up for deadline day as the Sharks make the biggest splash, grabbing Mikko Rantanen and extending him over 8 years, paying him $96 million. The Avs get Charlie Coyle and Brock Nelson, and the Jets add 2 vets in Luke Schenn and Brandon Tanev. To the rest of the league, the Senators pick up Dylan Cousins and Fabian Zetterlund as they send out Josh Norris, Jared Bernard-Docker, and more. Brandon Carlo and Scott Lawton are now Leafs, and the big one, the return is currently unknown, but the Panthers, they go grab Brad Marchand. To the association, there are 8 games on the hardcourt, including the Raptors. They welcome the Jazz to the north. Miami hosts Minnesota. San Antonio heads to Sacramento, and the Blazers tip off against the Thunder. And a little NFL news that ain't going to sneak by me. The Commanders re-signed Bobby Wagner to a 1-year deal worth $9.5 million. This sports update is brought to you by Windsor Plywood Leduc. Locally owned and operated since 1993, they are more than just plywood. They offer everything from doors and flooring to decking, fencing, and custom millwork. Windsor Plywood Leduc, the experts you need to know. Hernan and Gage are on the break. I'm Brendan Eric, and you're up to date.
Get your fix every single game with the GCL Diesel Oil Stream pregame and postgame shows with Tom Gazzola and Hernan Salas. Whether it's breaking down the starting lineup, predicting key matchups, or diving deep into the game's biggest moments, Tom and Hernan are here to give you the best insight and analysis in the city. After the final horn, get the breakdown of every key moment, performance, and player reactions. It's your one-stop shop for all things game day. Catch the GCL Diesel Oil Stream pregame and postgame shows with Tom Gazzola and Hernan Salas, only on Edmonton Sports Talk, your clear choice for Edmonton sports.
Make your birthday legendary at the Canadian Brewhouse with epic food, killer drinks, and an unbeatable vibe. Plus, download the Canadian Brewhouse app and score free nachos on your big day. Book your party now to celebrate like a pro. The Canadian Brewhouse. Our house is your house.
Love is in the air.
I love you.
And you? And you? And you! Why choose between your beloved items? Sentinel Storage, keeping your treasures safe to be loved again. Try 4 weeks free. Details at sentinelstorage.ca.
Hey Edmonton, ready to take advantage of lower rates and better pricing? South Fort Chevrolet in Fort Saskatchewan has you covered. From rugged trucks to sleek SUVs. And with over 40 years in business, you can trust that you're getting the best deal on your new ride. As the proud title sponsor of the Nielsen Show, EST listeners can drive a little to save a lot with South Fort Chevrolet's transparent pricing and down-to-earth sales team. Visit us today in Fort Saskatchewan or online at southfortchev.com.
Got some gently used furniture or home goods that need a new home? Find Edmonton is here to help. Every month we furnish over 100 homes to those transitioning out of homelessness, and we need your gently used furniture and home goods. Drop off at 5120 122nd Street or call for free local pickup. Just visit findedmonton.com to learn how your donations can help create a home for someone in need. Plus shop our thrift store, in-store or online, with proceeds benefit those moving out of homelessness through housing supports. Visit us at findedmonton.com. Find Edmonton, supporting our community one home at a time.
.30 here on EST Afternoons, live from the William Huff Studios here on the west side of the city. Go check out Bruce and his staff. They do the best work here in E-Town. That's the William Huff Advertising Experience, and William Huff Studios here in the west side of the city. Man, fans are fired up. They're pretty didn't like what the GM of the Edmonton Oilers had to say, but again, I mean, I don't think he said anything. I mean, nothing he said really surprised me or upset me, Joaquin.
No.
To be honest.
No.
I mean, it's a GM. So he's going to back up his team, and I thought he was thoughtful in his responses. I thought he gave some good answers. Talked about Evander Kane not knowing till yesterday that he would be out for the regular season. He talked about Bouchard. He talked about Kapanen a bit. He talked about not necessarily looking for a player for Leon, but looking for an upgrade. It didn't work out.
Yeah, I liked what he said of not looking at everyone else, what they're doing. Like, he was focused on what he thought his team. So he's taking responsibility for everything, right?
Yeah.
Like, you're not making knee-jerk reactions because you're looking around the league of what happens.
And that's good. I mean, you never want a GM that that is just responding to what other teams are doing,
Yeah.
because then you get yourself in trouble.
A lot of trouble.
Yeah, so and listen, I get it. Colorado went out and acquired some quality players. Dallas did as well. Winnipeg, sure, they added a couple of veterans, a 5-6 defenseman and a fourth line, maybe third line player. But just because those moves are happening doesn't mean Stan Bowman has to go and respond to it. I mean, of course you wanted one more player to add here, but if we're just looking at the defense, Joaquin, I think the one thing you see now compared to the start of the season, they got a little bit more depth. Now you're looking at John Klingberg and Stetcher as your 7-8, and I think that's good. They shouldn't be a regular in your lineup. And I think if you run into some injuries now, you have guys that can step in and are NHL guys, but are in that,
hold the dam together for a portion of time.
You're not going to a Cam Dineen, who was really good in his debut, but you're not going to a Josh Brown.
No.
Now you're going to guys that have a little bit of more quality, and I think in that aspect they did their job. They upgraded their defense. Now people are asking, why didn't they go after Brandon Carlo? Good question, but maybe this management team here valued Walman more than Carlo.
Could have.
And Carlo's a little bit more money.
This is when a really good scouting staff is essential too, right? How is this guy going to fit in? Does he fit our model? What is he? Is he what we're looking for?
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, I would have been okay with Brandon Carlo. I think he's a hell of a defenseman. He's 4.1 for 2 more seasons after this one. So just a little bit more higher than Jake Walman, but maybe like I said, the Oilers have their pro scouts, and maybe they saw something in Jake Walman that they really liked, and they went all in on that. So Rivali saying the Rantanen deal not announced yet by Dallas or Carolina, apparently in the queue, and doesn't expect a hiccup, but this is strange considering the news broke a while ago. Ooh. Yeah, it's probably just the paperwork and all that. Shoggy again says McDavid needs to take his own advice and dig in. He is a defensive liability and less offensive productivity. Yeah, he's having a bit of a lull here. Finally, yesterday he wasn't a minus. He was even. So baby steps. Listen, if the Oilers can go into tomorrow, Joaquin, and win that game, I think it's huge for their confidence. They're going to be in tough. Dallas is coming in on a 4-game win streak. They're going to have Mikko. Well, we assume they're going to have Mikko Rantanen. I don't know if Jake Walman will play tomorrow. I would assume he has enough time to get here because the trade went down yesterday. He knew in the evening. He's probably flying in today.
Yeah.
Maybe have a morning skate, and he'll be good to go.
They had a full morning skate yesterday. Hey?
Yeah. And Max Jones will remain in the lineup. We'll see if Jeff Skinner gets in. I mean, what do you do now with Jeff Skinner? I mean, we all thought maybe he'd lift his no movement to get out of here since they're not using him. But and that's another thing Stan Bowman said that I liked. He said, now we have enough guys here. Well, guys,
a little bit more competition.
A little bit more competition, and guys want to play well because they don't want to be the guy coming out of the lineup. And I think that's great.
You need a little bit of the carrot dangling that usually lights the fire for guys that, am I going to really go after and hit this guy or am I not? If it adds a little bit.
And again, if you're in the bottom 6 of the Edmonton Oilers, take a page out of what Max Jones did yesterday and you'll stay in the lineup.
Yeah.
Seriously. That's all you need to do. And it's going to be tough sledding, I think, for once Frederick is good and Mac Jones continues to play the way he is. I think it's going to be tough sledding for Jeff Skinner. I think it's going to be tough sledding for Kasperi Kapanen. Corey Perry's not coming out of the lineup. That guy's been awesome this year.
Oh, yeah. Not a chance.
He's got 14 goals. He has the second most goals since January 11th for the Edmonton Oilers.
Exactly.
Like, he's not coming out. So, Podkolzin, coach loves him. He's not coming out. Arvidsson, I can't see him coming out. And that third line of Janmark, Brown, and Enrique, and I don't disagree with a lot of the fans saying one of those guys needs to sit. It's not going to happen because the coach relies on those guys. He has trust in them because they're vets. They're two-way guys, and usually coaches don't sit vets like that out.
No,
they don't.
Not a chance.
Not a chance. It's a lot easier to sit at Jeff Skinner, who's kind of a one-trick pony, just offensive. But I'd like to see him get back in there and see what he can do. And like you said, there's going to be open competition, and you better be ready to go. The afternoon inbox is presented by the River Cree Resort and Casino, featuring Italia Restaurant, home of the $6.99 brunch special from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. on Sundays. We'll continue trade deadline conversation and some Oilers talk here as we're winding down our show. Reed Wilkins, J-Man will bring you a fun show. They're going to have Jamie Thomas on from Winnipeg. They made a couple of interesting moves, and they'll take you right up until 6. Full coverage here on Edmonton Sports Talk. We're back on EST Afternoons after the break.
The Panthers get another pest to play against in Brad Marchand. The Stars make a splash with Mikko Rantanen. The Avs, they go grab Charlie Coyle and Brock Nelson. The Leafs bring in Brandon Carlo and Scott Laughton. And the Sens, they have a new look with Dylan Cousins and Fabian Zetterlund. The boys, they're right around the corner. We're fitting these in. I'm Brendan Eric, and you're up to date.
Two guys and a goalie.
Instead of asking someone off the drop,
Don't give them an option.
Make them come to
just
you.
run somebody.
Make
Run
them come
Yes.
to you. Go spray
Yes.
the goalie, hit a guy late.
Go run somebody and make Anderson deal with you.
And turn
Right?
around,
Like-
drop your gloves, and say, come get some.
Two guys and a goalie, presented by GS Construction. Tuesday and Thursday afternoons at noon, only on Edmonton Sports Talk, your clear choice for Edmonton sports.
Your home for live music and great performances is the River Cree Resort and Casino. Don't miss the internationally recognized tribute, the Alan Jackson Experience, April 18th at the River Cree Resort and Casino. Get your tickets at rivercreeresort.com. River Cree Resort and Casino. Excitement? Bet on it.
Celebrating 70 years in the signage industry, William Huff Advertising is the most recognized name in the game. An in-house, one-stop shop for all of your design, print, and installation needs. William Huff provides quality graphic solutions for everyone. Here in our City of Champions and throughout the nation, they are the preferred signage partner entrusted by many of the biggest corporations, pro sports teams, and organizations to bring their identity to life. Recognize the name, get in the game. WilliamHuff.com.
Play more tables and games.
Play more tables and games. Make the most of your bad game. Oh, you want to, you need to, you know just what you've got to do. It's time to add some fun to your life. Make the most of your bad game. Play more tables and games.
PlayMoreGames.ca.
.240 back here on EST Afternoons on Edmonton Sports Talk, your clear choice for Edmonton sports, wall-to-wall coverage here. It's been a great day. It's been a fun show. Shout out to everybody who's chipped in today. YouTube Trev, Lieutenant Eric, Dustin, Tom Gazzola, Jay Milne, Reed Wilkins, Brendan. Miss anyone? No?
No.
Joaquin. Some late trades coming in. Eric Johnson heads back to the Colorado Avalanche. Heading back to the Flyers is Giovanni Smith. The Islanders send Adam Beckman to the New Jersey Devils in exchange for Dennis Cholowski. The Rangers send Eric Brandstrom to the Buffalo Sabres for Nicholas Aube-Kubel. And Toronto sends Connor Dewar and Connor Timmins to the Penguins. The return to be determined. Ottawa gets Fabian Zetterlund, Tristan Robbins, and a 4th-round pick from the Sharks in exchange for Noah Gregor, Zach Ostapchuk, and a 2nd-round pick. And we're still waiting on the return for Brad Marchand. I think I saw there. It sounds like it might be a 2nd-round pick, but nothing official on that. But Brad Marchand joins the Florida Panthers. Mikko Rantanen into the Dallas Stars. I think those are the big ones. Brandon Carlo to the Leafs, a hell of a pickup. Extremely a good defenseman there. A big guy. Says he was shocked he was going to Toronto. I know here for Edmonton Oilers fans, what grade would you give the Oilers management? And please take in mind that they're a little handcuffed with a lot of different things. So keep it in what's the proper word I'm using here? Take all that into account because you have to. And what grade would you give them? I think they do get a passing grade. I don't think they're in the A's. No. But B minus, C's, sure. I mean, I think it's fair. I think they got two really good players in Walman and Trent Frederick, and we'll see Max Jones if he can continue to bring what we saw last night, which was awesome.
You obviously see how this management staff thought the biggest need that they needed to address was the physicality side.
Yeah,
that's what they feel that we're missing, and I tend to agree with them. Right? You have Connor, you have Leon, you know what you have with those two offensive guys. You need more from the guys that you signed, obviously, but
you need Hyman to get going. He's huge. You need Nuge to get going.
Yeah,
Gager. Like those guys are dependable.
You need Arbertson to get going. You need Enrique to get going. You need a lot. There's a lot. Connor Brown needs to, the PK needs to improve. That was the biggest strength.
Good start yesterday.
Good start. Yeah.
Defensively, Bouchard's got to get better. Bouchard's got to get to the level he was at the playoffs.
Again, I mean, he's capable of it. But I think that was the problem. I think that's the best Bouchard, right?
Oh yeah,
that's the ceiling.
That's him at his best.
Yeah.
Deskra says B minus. Shoggy says C. High Prairie Regal says C minus. Eric Homeland says B minus. Ahmed says 5 out of 10. Deskra says actually C minus since Frederick is a rental, but he could resign. High Prairie Legal, when they add Kane, a C plus. Stub 099 C minus. So yeah, it's around there. Mex Bezuzu says 5 out of 7. Ernie on the River Cree inbox. Ernie says B minus. Yeah, I mean, I think people are really gonna like Trent Frederick.
Yeah. The way he plays, it's hard not to like.
He's got a little rat in him. He can score. He can fight. He's going to get under the team's skin, which is great. I think they're really going to like him. I think he's like we said when they acquired him, it's a little bit bittersweet because you have to wait so long to watch him. But again, Stan Bowman did touch on it. A few weeks away, 2-3 weeks, hopefully. The Oilers just gotta. At the end of the day, the Oilers gotta find their game. They were able to pick up a win yesterday. We haven't really talked about it. Still, like that second goal against Gage, it's 4 guys all staring at Lane Hudson in the corner, and no one picks up the slot guy. That to me, those plays that have to stop.
It's not that. It's funny because Stuart Skinner was fantastic in the first period.
Yeah, he was good.
Really good. And I'm not saying that's how he needs to play all the time, but he's capable of playing like that.
Yeah.
And if you have that type of performance, more times than not, you're going to be winning those games, or at the least, you're going to be in it till the end. Yeah. But again, too many good opportunities for the Montreal Canadiens last night in great scoring areas, like right down the pipe. Dangerous guys with good looks. You can't give up that many good looks.
No. Because they did give up some great A's yesterday.
Yeah. It's funny how people are saying, oh, they didn't go get a goalie. After last night's the amount of good chances that Stuart Skinner foiled and kept his team in it. He's proven what I said. Now you roll with him. Now you keep it building.
And he said so in his post game. It was to the tune of I have to do this regularly. Like I have to stop dipping so far. Like and he knows he's capable of it. So we'll see what happens here. Skinner probably to get the start tomorrow. I'd go with Skinner against a very high-powered team that's feeling really good right now in the Dallas Stars. All right, one more break before our last segment here on EST Afternoons, live from the William Huff Studios, as we get you set for the Reed Wilkins Show with Jay Milne. They'll have Jamie Thomas out of Winnipeg, You'll have Matt Cassian on the show to break down trade deadline day as well. And of course, Reed and Jay will bring you more on Stan Bowman and what the Oilers did. And they'll go around the NHL as well to see the biggest moves of the day. We're back after the break here on EST Afternoons. Here's Brendan with your sports update.
Did it again. The Panthers, they get another best in Brad Marchand. The Stars make a splash with Mikko Rantanen. The Avs grab Charlie Coyle and Brock Nelson. The Leafs, they bring in Brandon Carlo and Scott Lawton. And the Sens, they have a new look with Dylan Cousin and Fabian Zetterlund. Last break, we did it. I'm Brendan Eric, and you're up to date.
Get your fix every single game with the GCL Diesel Oil Stream pregame and postgame shows with Tom Gazzola and Hernan Salas. Whether it's breaking down the starting lineup, predicting key matchups, or diving deep into the game's biggest moments, Tom and Hernan are here to give you the best insight and analysis in the city. After the final horn, get the breakdown of every key moment, performance, and player reactions. It's your one-stop shop for all things game day. Catch the GCL Diesel Oil Stream pregame and postgame shows with Tom Gazzola and Hernan Salas, only on Edmonton Sports Talk, your clear choice for Edmonton sports.
Take your career to the next level with Nate's Construction Leadership and Supervision Program, a perfect tool for professionals looking to advance their role or an organization needing to develop leaders. Learn more about safety supervision, scheduling, cost control, and most importantly, how to lead a team. For more information and to register, visit nate.ca/CLSP to take your career to another level.
Since 1952, William Huff has been the heartbeat of Edmonton's advertising world. From humble beginnings to a citywide powerhouse, we've been the go-to for signage from print to design and installation. Partnering with Edmonton's top sports franchises and major events, we've helped shape the city's global reputation. Our secret? Unmatched customer service, decades of experience, and a passion for excellence we call the William Huff Advantage. Visit us online at williamhuff.com.
Looking for quality building materials and friendly advice? Visit us at Windsor Plywood Leduc, family owned and locally run since 1993. From interior materials for doors, flooring, baseboards, and all the finishing touches to all you need for your outdoor projects like cedar lumber for decks and fences, plus all the plywood you'd need. Our full-time on-staff carpenter can help with anything odd-sized or custom, and from domestic hardwoods to exotic selections, we've got you covered. And if we don't have it, we'll track it down for you. Windsor Plywood Leduc. We're the experts you need to know.
2:50, final segment here on EST Afternoons. I must say, Nasties, you guys are awesome. Thank you for sticking with us from 6 a.m. And stick around because Reed Wilkins, Jay Milner are bringing you a fire show as well right up until 6. And thank you for the support on EST. It's been great. The views, the thumbs up, the audio listens, everything. And, of course, you chiming into the Nasty Chat in the River Cree inbox at 780-218-99. The support is greatly appreciated, especially on days like this when it's a lot of fun for us that get to do these shows. And I know it's a lot of fun for you guys. I used to be on the other side, too, and would take trade deadline day off. And I'd have the boys on at 12:60. I'd have TSN on, you know. You're talking to your buddies, just excited for all the trades to come, especially the Edmonton Oilers. Jasmine says, you're welcome, Hernan.
Oh, jeez.
Winners for you today? I mean, it's pretty easy to select.
Yeah, it's got to be Florida for me for what they've done. Seth Jones, Brad Marchand, that's two massive pieces.
Yeah.
Makes them better.
They'll get Kachuk back.
That's I like what Tampa Bay did too. You know, getting
Gord and Bjorkstrand.
Bjorkstrand and Gaudreau back. Is it? No. Barclay Gaudreau?
No, they got Oliver Bjorkstrand and Yanni Gord.
Yanni Gord, sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry, I lost that. Yeah, that's that third line looking at them. And just, I don't know why it is, but because of the performance of Mikko Rantanen in Carolina, still playing with very good players. Aho and Shevchenko, Jeez, I'm getting bad with too many hockey players today. He didn't look the same as he did with Nathan MacKinnon. And obviously Sebastian Aho is not Nathan MacKinnon, but you thought he would raise the level of play of those other guys too, and it just didn't seem to work out that well.
Sometimes it's just not a fit, right?
Yeah,
it's unfortunate. Outside of the Florida's, Colorado, Dallas, you can't say they had bad deadlines. They were really good. I like what Ottawa did, adding Dylan Cousins. I think they traded away Josh Norris, who's injury prone.
Yeah.
Older and more expensive. They get Dylan Cousins, who's young. He's a hell of a player. I liked him. And then they add Fabian Zetterlund, who's got some offense, having a decent season with the San Jose Sharks. They add 2 quality players that are going to play in their top 9. And they're only going to and they're making that push, man. They're making that push for the playoffs. So I like what Ottawa did today as well. But yeah, Tampa, these teams went all in, and I do feel if the Oilers didn't have the no movements, as many as they do, this Evander Kane stuff, I think they would have been a little bit more in. But I'm okay with kind of what they did. Now, is it enough to get them over the hump? We'll find out come late April, Joaquin, when I'm back from Mexico, what they do in the playoffs, who their first round opponent. Because I know people are asking, well, if they lose, who's to blame? Well, let's wait and see.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because if the secondary scoring doesn't show up, that's going to be a big one. If the penalty kill doesn't shape up, it's going to be a part of it. If the goaltending doesn't shape up, it's going to be a part of it. If there's so many different things that can happen. If Bouchard doesn't step up his defensive play, there's a lot of things that could go wrong. Now they have time to fix it.
Mm-hmm.
They got about a month here to go, a month and a little bit to turn their game around. Because at one point they were the best team in the league, right?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Gager, did you have fun? I know you injured your ankle and you were kind of complaining.
Yeah, no, it's bugging me. It's age, man.
It's like your Jordan game, eh?
Yeah, not quite. Not that good. Pretty good, but not that good.
All right, guys, keep slamming that thumbs up. Hit the subscribe. We're close to 11.4K here on our subscribers. And if you want to listen to the full 2 hours of our show, and any show on Edmonton Sports Talk, Spotify, Apple, wherever you get your podcast, just hit the follow button, and that'd be really appreciated. All it does is puts our content to the top of your feed. It doesn't send you anything. It doesn't send you stuff to your email or anything like that. It's just a simple follow, a simple thumbs up, and a simple hit the subscribe button. And thank you for tuning in. Keep it locked, though. We got 3 more hours of coverage. Reed Wilkins, J-Mill. They'll be joined by Jamie Thomas out of Winnipeg, and the one and only Matt Cassian as well. Thank you for all of you for tuning in today. It's been awesome. Keep it locked here on Edmonton Sports Talk. For Brendan and my buddy Joaquin Gage, I'm Hernan Salas saying enjoy the rest of your day. Enjoy the weekend. We'll chat tomorrow for Oilers pregame show as they host the Dallas Stars. Ciao for now.